Hey guys, I wanted to share with you the setup that I have for acrylics. I did order, as you saw in some of those YouTube videos, the Mia's Secret acrylic. So I got a big of the clear acrylic, and then I got the sets of the small ones. So what I did is I filled some of these containers I got from Burmex up. They're just little jars. Filled them up with the clear and then added a little bit of pigment with these different colors. This particular one is the fruity line from Mia's Secret. And so then I have up here where the students can dip their brushes in acetone. I have paper towels and nail tips, fingers, drills, all of those things that I know I'm going to need for whenever we're working with acrylics. I have these strips of paper that I got at that the Texas Art Asylum, and these are just scrap papers, but they work great. And then of course I've got my laminated sheets for my lesson. So this rolly cart, I have been rolling it around all over the place when we go and do things. I also have my worksheets. First we started with the dots. So this would be the from Sandy I got one time. And so we practice our beads, the consistency, if it's too wet, too dry, from big to small. So that is what we start off. They're laminated, and then the acrylic just pops right off. And then from there we move on to, I have this one from Tammy Taylor from a class, and we start with the angles of your brushes and dropping them down from the tip to the cuticle area, and then of course bigger beads with the bigger brush that they have. And so that is the second part of the acrylics that we do. From here we talk about shapes. Oops. So from here we talk about shapes. So what I do have, so from here we talk about shapes, and what I do have, I did get off of Google, is this little diagram here that is awesome. And so it is from Infographics. There it goes. And it's just the nail shape. And so we start with square, oval, round, oval, almond. Those are the ones, or oval really. Those are the ones that are not as popular nowadays with the trends of the recent younger generations. But we do make sure that they know those shapes. And then of course the almond, coffin, and stiletto, those being the most popular now in 2019. Those are ones that we also, I also teach the kiddos. So I teach them how the difference of, there's a story about a mom and a dad that get married and have a baby, and then they're round and they have the features of mom and dad. And so that's kind of the story I tell. And then it actually, you know, the baby grows up and then she ends up as a stiletto. And so it's a little story that I tell with the shapings of the nails, so it will help the students remember the nail tips, nail shapes. We do have some construction paper. I believe it's 10 sheets, and I have them stapled on the side. And what they do on here, first we start off with nail anatomy. So we had this particular diagram that I got, and we label all the parts of the nail, okay? And then of course they do chapter 28 is monomer and polymer nail enhancements. We have the questions that they have, they write the question and the answer, and then we have the vocabulary and they write their definition. The next thing that we had, and this one got stuck, the next thing that we had were the tools. Here they have a diagram of a brush, and we talked about what the brush is, what the names of the parts, the name of the part of the brushes are, and I gave them different tips, like never to touch the brush with your fingertips, and then so this spot here is where they wrote down all those different tips about an actual brush. On this one here, we talked about a side view of the application of the acrylic. I didn't label mine in particular, but they did label it, like the flat edge, the tip, the almond, cuticle area. And we talk about how this should be a ramp instead of a step up. It should also be, you know, little notes onto the side. So I had 4 fingers, and I had them, after going over these particular shapes here, we did go and number each one of these fingers. So to start off, just to get them to manipulate and maneuver and move product around, we started with clay, and this one came out. So on their finger, they had to add a little ball of clay, like a bead, and then they had to put on the finger, and they had to use an orange wood stick that had a flat tip, and they had to push and manipulate the clay to shape it, and then they had to put it down. Mine got smushed, but they had to do all 10 fingers. From there, well, we also had the shapes, and of course we went through, and we haven't finished it, but we went through and talked about what the differences in each one of those were. Okay, so that is a little booklet that they have, and they turn that in, and they do keep that as they go through. So then they get their, let's see here, let me find a good one. They do get their strip of paper, and then they, in the same order, they write down all of their nail shapes, and then they get their fingers. We use a little bit of sticky tack and stick the nail tip in here. They trim it down and file it, and then once we start the acrylics, they already have that manipulation skill, not perfected, but just started with patting down the acrylic with that clay. And so first they start on the papers, of course, the beads, and then the Tammy Taylor diagram. And then I had them just put painter's tape over their nail tip, and then do it on their finger. And then we moved on to a nail tip, and then this is the result of that. So right now we're in the process of finishing laying down the acrylic, and then we also have been letting them file it. So then at the end, they should have each one of their nail designs, nail shapes with acrylic over their white paper. So they do get a Ziploc baggie, okay, that they do get a face mask for all the filing and whatnot. We do end up going outside whenever we do have to do the acrylic, because it's just right outside the door because of the smell, especially because there's testing going on campus right now. And so that's just kind of how we set up for acrylics, and that's what we've done. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you soon.